Good morning. We're going to get started this morning with an invocation by Pastor John Arvin of Southwest Church of Christ, and that will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Prosper Clark, representing Boy Scouts Troop 68. Please stand as you are able.
All right, let's pray. God our Father, we thank you for our lives. We thank you for this home you've blessed us with in Oklahoma City. We're a blessed community filled with good people. We thank you for the ways that you've blessed our city for good. God, I personally thank you for each one of these men and women who humbly serve and lead in our community in their various roles. I thank you for their sacrifices they make, the service they give on behalf of others. And I thank you for them, and I ask for your blessings upon them and their families as they lead and serve. As they lead, as they make decisions that impact many lives, I pray justice and mercy are given. People are treated fairly and equally, and peace and goodness would continue to result in our lives because of it. I pray our will is aligned with yours as we live and lead, and we thank you for the hope and grace we find in you. And it's in your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Arvin, and thank you, Prosper. All right, I call this meeting of the City Council to order, and we're on item 3, Office of the Mayor, and I do have a few presentations to make, so I'll make my way to the front. Thank you, Mark. All right, how about Aaron? You want to join us up here? Well, Aaron, you are our safety star of the quarter, here to remind us how important safety is among our city employees. And we'd like to learn a little bit more about the work that you do, and so I would ask the clerk to read this resolution.
Whereas Aaron Sears is a dedicated and hardworking team member of the Public Works Department Household Hazardous Waste Division. And whereas Aaron is a subject matter expert in safety regarding household hazardous waste, and he brings strong safety knowledge and program initiatives to his role as floor supervisor. And whereas Aaron is extremely organized and focused on continuously learning and developing best practices to manage routine and novel work directives in a safe, efficient, and effective manner. And whereas Aaron exhibits true professional attributes that demonstrate his genuine care for delivering excellent work quality, and his positive attitude, excellent soft skills, and leadership provide consistency in operations from shift start to finish, reducing unnecessary scrambling to meet work objectives. And whereas Aaron actively participates in meetings and trainings, enabling him to understand the department's implicit needs and initiate ideas to support our efforts, and he is always available to give safety advice and help problem solve. And whereas Aaron provides departmental safety training for employees, conducts safety analysis for PPE purchases, and instills safe work behaviors through standard operation procedure development. And whereas Aaron consistently performs above and beyond in pursuing excellence, he is always motivated and positively engaged, serves as program lead to maintain a safe working environment, and oversees many of the day-to-day work activities of the environmental technicians at the center. And whereas the Household Hazardous Waste Collection Center is incredibly fortunate to have Aaron as the environmental unit specialist. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the City of Oklahoma City that they do hereby thank and commend Aaron Sears on his selection as the City of Oklahoma City Safety Star of the Quarter.
Thank you. Well, Aaron, we know how valuable your work is, obviously, to your fellow employees and to our city. I mean, obviously, this is an important, hazardous waste disposal is very important to our environment. So we're very grateful for your work. We do want to pass this resolution to demonstrate that, and so I would ask if we could get a motion and a second to that effect. We have it. I vote aye. Passes unanimously. We'd love to hear a few words from you, Aaron. And again, how long have you been with the city?
18 years.
Okay. Well, very good. Well, congratulations. Here you go.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Don't have many words to say, but I appreciate my time with the city, and I appreciate the recognition that me and my team try hard to do to stay safe and to perform at our best for the city. So.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Let's hear it for Aaron. There you go. Yours to keep. Jill, come on down. You're the next contestant. All right, Jill, we'd love to learn a little bit more about why you are the Employee of the Month, and so I would ask the clerk to read this resolution.
Whereas Jill Walsh has been a city employee for 16 years with the Public Works Department, and whereas Jill Walsh is an office coordinator supporting the Traffic Services Division, and whereas Jill Walsh's duties include managing payroll, receptionist duties, and recording votes and taking minutes for Traffic Commission meetings. And whereas Jill Walsh is a team player, the first to lend a hand to coworkers and always seeks new and better ways to conduct business and improve communications. And whereas Jill Walsh listens to residents' concerns and empathizes with their situations, always being friendly and honest with a sincere desire to help and inspire. And whereas Jill Walsh regularly provides positive suggestions and encouragement to help others master their challenges, offers strength to those who face adversity, and shares advice to help coworkers look beyond the negative. And whereas Jill Walsh has a positive outlook on life, laughs out loud, enjoys the magic of communicating, and offers constructive criticism when she thinks it's warranted. And whereas this council desires to recognize Jill Walsh for her dedication, compassion, and commitment to the residents of the city of Oklahoma City. Now therefore be it resolved by the mayor and council of the city of Oklahoma City that they do hereby thank and commend Jill Walsh, August 2024, South Oklahoma City Kiwanis Club Employee of the Month.
Well, thank you. I don't know. We'd love to hear that laugh, Jill, but somebody's, there you go. All right. So let's pass this resolution. Let's see if we can get a motion in a second. We have it. I wish to vote aye. All right, passes unanimously. You did it. All right, Jill. We'd love to hear a few words from you. Yes. You're going to get multiple applause. We'd love to hear a few words, Jill.
Okay. Well, I've been with the city for 16 years, 7 of them in utilities. Those were hard earned, so I'm going to include those. I've learned a lot with the city, and I'm real proud to be an employee. My children are now employees with the city as well. I'm proud of that as well. It's just been an experience getting to grow and learn, and I've learned so much through this organization, and I really appreciate the opportunity.
Well, that's awesome. We love to hear the multi-generational story. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for your service, Jill. Congratulations. And let's hear it for Jill one more time. All right, finally, we've got Jennifer. Come on up. Jennifer is our Teacher of the Month. And, yes. And we'd love to hear a little bit more about you, Jennifer. So I'd ask the clerk to read this resolution.
Whereas Jennifer Reyes Garcia has been named Teacher of the Month for August 2024 by the Oklahoma City Public Schools Foundation and Rotary Club of Oklahoma City. And whereas Jennifer serves as a 4th grade teacher at Mark Twain Elementary School, where she delivers top quality classroom instruction, collaborates and plans with teammates, and works with parents and community members. And whereas Jennifer is the Oklahoma City Public Schools District Teacher of the Year for 2024. And whereas Jennifer works tirelessly to meet her students' individual learning needs by differentiating her instruction and working to accommodate their various learning styles. And whereas Jennifer believes her greatest contributions stem from a combination of trusting relationships based on personal connections and high expectations. And whereas Jennifer considers her greatest achievement in education to be the completion of her master's degree in administration through the OKCPS Foundation's Aspiring Administrators Pipeline program. And whereas Jennifer is extremely passionate about identifying the needs of her students and their families and works to fulfill those needs with the support of district partners like Donors Choose. And whereas Jennifer believes that young lives can be changed when we take the time to truly know them by name and need. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the City of Oklahoma City that they do hereby recognize and commend Jennifer Reyes Garcia on her selection as August 2024 Teacher of the Month by the Oklahoma City Public Schools Foundation and Rotary Club of Oklahoma City.
Well, thank you. Jennifer, first of all, congratulations on being District Teacher of the Year. Maybe the only honor that's a bigger deal than this one today. So that's really cool. Well, we're very grateful for your service to our kids, and we would like to exhibit our gratitude by passing this resolution. So let's see if we can get a motion in a second. We've got it. I'd like to vote aye. Passes unanimously. Well, Jennifer, we'd love to hear a few words from you, if you don't mind. And one thing that I noticed here was your aspiration to possibly be an administrator someday, which we need those kind of leaders in the buildings. So that's awesome. All right, the floor is yours.
I'll try to keep it short. I talk quite a bit. I am really honored to be here today. When I was sent an email from the foundation and they let me know they wanted to recognize me yet again, I was truly shocked. I absolutely love my job. I love the work I do in Oklahoma City with my families and with their students, their children, my kids. I'm really passionate about every part of teaching, not just the academic content. Yes, that is so important, but also just meeting all of the various needs of my students. In my building, we work very hard to make sure that our students are not just learning curriculum, but they're also clothed, fed, and have access to their basic needs like hygiene products. So I'm really excited to be here. I'm excited to have the podium as Teacher of the Year for OKCPS this year and to take it to the whole state. I think it's really important that everyone, every stakeholder, every member of our community understands how much work teachers truly put in for the students and the families we are servicing here in Oklahoma City. We are serving a student population that is historically marginalized and misrepresented. And it's our duty and our responsibility to have high expectations for those students and to help them rise above, because I truly believe that every single one of my kids, no matter their native language, no matter their native country, their race, their religion, I believe that they can do whatever they want to do. And I think more stakeholders need to hear that message. So I'm excited to be here, and I hope you continue to support Oklahoma City and Oklahoma City schools.
Thank you. Well done. Well done. Also, I would be remiss if we didn't point out that Mom came down from Tulsa this morning for this. Oh, thank you. Let's hear it for Jennifer one more time. Okay, and finally on Office of the Mayor, we have a resolution approving travel expenses for me to attend the National League of Cities Summit in Florida in November. Take a motion on that. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes 8-1 and with the necessary 6 affirmative votes. Item 4, items from council. There are none today. And so item 5, our city manager reports. Mr. City Manager.
We have several on today. Don't have any formal presentations on these, but I did want to note we have the July and August sales tax reports. Typically, it's the end of the month. We'll get the reports. July, we were a little delayed as we were working through some issues with our targets, but got that adjusted. I'll really just jump to, we did have a decline in July of 1.5% in our sales tax, something to take note of. But then in August, we had a decline of 5.5%. So through the year so far, Beginning of the year, we're down 3.5% in sales tax. We're about 3.1 between sales and use tax, about $3.1 million below target starting off the year. Russell did caution us that we would have slower growth on sales tax or maybe have some decline at the first part of the year and then see that pick up in the second part of the year. Certainly, being behind on our revenues, we're going to monitor that very closely. We're in a good position with our reserves. We're in a good position to be able to be responsive to this and not just reactive, to be thoughtful about what we do in response. But it does kind of just set the tone for kind of where we're headed for the year. We'll see where we end up in September. We try not to focus just on an individual month when we're looking at our revenues, but when you see a couple of months that are going this direction, it's certainly something that's a little bit concerning that we're going to keep watching, but we'll keep you up to date as we get more information. The next report is the hotel tax collections. It's for the end of last fiscal year. So for the full fiscal year, we ended up about 5.7% above the prior year, so really strong with hotel tax in the previous year. We'll continue monitoring that and get reports to you on the beginning of the year. We do those on a quarterly basis, so we'll have our first quarter after September. But then we have the Revenue Enforcement Program report, and it just shows efforts that are led by our Treasurer's Office, our City Treasurer's Office. They do great work in making sure the revenues that are due to the city are received. Some of this we do through independent auditors and others that our staff actually does themselves, particularly on collecting the hotel tax because we collect the hotel tax ourselves. So that report is also in here, and I just want to recognize the work of our City Treasurer's Office to make sure we're getting the revenues that we are due. And then the last report is the claims and payroll. Don't have any comments on that. It is available if you want to look at that on okc.gov. And that's all the items that I have.
All right, thank you. Item 6, Journal of Council Proceedings. We have items A and B we could take with one motion. Got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Item 7, request for uncontested continuances. Do you have anything, Mr. City Manager?
We do. Starting on page 17 of the agenda, we have several items that will be stricken from the agenda. Under unsecured structures, we have all of these items are stricken. Item A, 6600 Braniff Drive. The owner is secured. Item B, 4305 South Miller Avenue. The owner is secured. Item C, 3908 Oak Valley Road. The owner has secured. Item D, 515 Northwestern Avenue. The owner has secured. Item H, 3737 Southeast 48th Place is to re-notify for additional structures. And then item L, 814 Northwest 91st Street, the owner has secured. Then on page 18, under 11J1, abandoned buildings, these are all stricken from the agenda. Item A, 3908 Oak Valley Road, the owner is secured. And item F, 814 Northwest 91st Street, the owner is secured. That's all the items that I have.
All right, that brings us to item 8, revocable permits and events. You can tell that the fall festival season is arriving. We've got a busy docket here. So 8A is a revocable permit with the Asian District Cultural Association for the Asian Night Market Festival in October at Military Park. And we do have Steve Lee here who has signed up to speak.
All righty. Well, good morning. Hi, Council. My name is Steve Lee, and I am the current secretary of the Asian District Cultural Association. I'm very excited to be here with y'all today. I'm here to talk about the Asian Night Market Festival. Very proud of the event. I've been serving with that festival for the past couple years. One great thing about it, just to kind of revise and go over it a little bit, is last year, in the hottest day of the year of 2023 in August, over the span of 2 days, we had about 40,000 people come to the Asian Night Market Festival, and that was just the 5th year of our event. So that exposure to the community and what it does for our community does go outwards towards so many things. Some examples I want to give you is we are one of the largest cultural festivals at this point in the Midwest. We have people that reach out to us from Tulsa on how we do this event, and also nationally, all the way from South Dakota. How do we create this event? How do we do this for the community? So I'm so excited to talk about this because not only does it bring together just the Asian culture that's represented here in Oklahoma City, not just Vietnamese, but all cultures that are represented here, also Asian and South Asian. And I think that's a really important part right there. One of the coolest things about our Night Market Festival is the food eating contest. And we have featured many different things, like a spicy ramen, a pho, and also this year we're very excited to feature a South Asian item, samosas, that's gonna be sponsored by Sheesh Mahal. And so this exposure and this excitement is what creates us here in Oklahoma City and the Asian District. I wanna say that personally, I was born and raised here in Oklahoma City, lived in Yukon, went to Mustang schools. I've been here my whole life. Growing up, there was nothing like this around. And to have this now and to serve on the Asian District Cultural Association, to be able to bring this to the youth and to bring this to the community means so much. To have people recognize us from South Dakota, to see us and to say, we know that you are successful at this, it means so much. And then another part of our history, Catholic Charities, 1975, bringing over so much of the Vietnamese community here of why we have this Asian district. A lot of that community is getting older, and this festival really does continue the legacy of the Asian district and our culture here, and we are now a pillar of what it is. And so the decision of the council, of you all, being able to let us close down 6 lanes of Classen, to be able to do this across the span of 2 days, it means so much. Again, last year we had over 40,000 people come to our event, and this is just getting bigger and bigger every single year. So again, I just want to thank you guys from the simple decision of you closing down 6 lanes is impacting and making us a pillar in the Midwest for this event. So thank you for supporting the Asian District Cultural Association. I hope that you guys are able to attend October 4th and 5th this year, not on the hottest day of the year of 2024. And we're very excited to be able to do this. And again, thank you for your support.
Thank you. Councilman Cooper?
Well, let me just say what an honor it is to close down 6 lanes for this event. No, and let me also just say, listening to what you just said, Steve, it is just truly, I mean, I hope when I'm no longer in the seat that I remember days like this, because the food you have described, whether it's Sheesh Mahal, whether it's pho and wah, you name it, Lee sandwiches, quoc bao, like Ward 2 is, no offense, I love you all. Y'all know I love, y'all know it, just be prepared. We are it. It is where the food, it's where the culture, it's where, oh man, every day for me. Every day in my poor bank account, and it ain't a lot in there. But I'm grateful for this event. I'm even more grateful when I heard from AJ this summer that you all were moving it to October, specifically October 4th through 6th. And if you all have not had a chance to come experience these food trucks, to come see the community come to life, to see 40,000 plus people walking those streets, right? It's in your emphasis on a pedestrian corridor, a bike corridor, a public transit corridor, a corridor for people. That is always going to have my heart, because you all understand that a corridor for people is a corridor for business. That's how we get that sales tax revenue up. Do not mess with me. I have had cold brew. And I will see you there, and if any of you all are there, I've seen other council people there before. I think I've even seen a mayor once upon a time. Come on in, say hi to me, and thanks to everyone who's from the community here today. I'll move with approval.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously.
We'll,
All right,
we'll take T-shirts, please.
8B is a joint revocable permit with the Oklahoma City Water Utilities Trust and the Committee Guatemala, Oklahoma, to hold the Festival Chapin at the Lake Hefner Reservoir. And we've got Marlene Arenas here.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Marlene Arenas. I'm a member of the Comité Guatemalteco Oklahoma, the Guatemalan Committee here in Oklahoma City. What we're wanting to do this year for the third year is bring the Festival Chapin, which is a Guatemalan festival here to the community of Oklahoma, to share the culture, the food, the different ceremonies and music, and show it off, showcase it to Oklahoma City. This would be our third year doing it. 2 years ago, we started not expecting a lot of people, but we did have a lot of people show up. Every year it appears like it's growing. So again, we would like to have it this third year, and we're hoping that you would allow us to do it. We're going to have activities for children. We're actually going to bring a group from Guatemala, which are going to have jugglers, a magician, a couple of clowns, to have different shows for the children. Then we're going to bring soloists and different musical groups. Actually, there's going to be a group that's going to play that day. They actually play it on Friday at the Devon Park. And they make it fun, just fun music. Everyone can dance, and like I said, just different foods, and it's a lot of fun. So I'm hoping that you would allow us to do this again this year.
Thank you. We don't have a ward listed here, but we'll go with Councilman Stonecipher, who's got the lake itself in his ward.
Sounds like a great event. The food, the music, we're looking forward to it. If there's anything we can do to help, please let us know. I move for approval.
Thank you.
Oh, what time is it?
It starts
Thank
at 10 a.m. and ends at 10 p.m. And I'm hoping I see everyone there, because it is going to be it is a fun event.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay, item 8C. This is a joyous crowd this morning. 8C is a revocable right-of-way use permit with American Foundation for Suicide Prevention to hold the Out of the Darkness Suicide Prevention Walk on September 7th. And we don't have anyone signed up to speak on this. Councilwoman Nice.
Okay. Well, clearly this is a necessary need for us to acknowledge the impacts of what suicide does and the attempts of suicide. I know a couple people that have been heavy participants in the Out of Darkness walks. I've actually been to one myself, so I hope you all will join this year as we acknowledge those who have left and clearly speak to the needs of those that we need to continue to care for. So I'll move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Item 8D is a revocable right-of-way use permit with the Down Syndrome Association of Central Oklahoma to hold the Down Syndrome Festival and 5K on September 28th on Sheridan. And we have Sarah Soul and Addie Charles.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, City Councilman. My name is Addie Charles, and I would like to share this about you and about a special event coming up on September the 28th, the Down Syndrome Festival and 5K. We are celebrating 30 years of accept and inclusion. I would like to invite all of you to join my team, Addie's Avengers. I like to run at the very end with my cousin Ellie Isaacs, and support all of the self-advocates like me and families who have a loved one with Down syndrome. DASCO has been a big support to me and my family, and they have empowered me to be a better self-advocate, educate families, and engage some community members. This event is very important to me, and I hope you will approve our permit so we may continue to celebrate with the lives people like me. Thank you.
Thank you, Addie.
I would just like to add our event September 28th. We expect about 4,000 people. We are celebrating 30 years. This event brings families from all over the state, including families travel from western Oklahoma. So hopefully we can have help with those tax dollars on that day as well. But it's truly a special event. We kick off the day at 8 a.m. with our 5K and 1 mile fun run. After that, our awareness walk opens up at 9:45. All the events take place at the Myriad Botanical Gardens. We have a festival of activities, including this year a bubble machine. Some of our self-advocates will be performing their special talents as well. So we would love for everybody to come out and just celebrate with us and enjoy the day and have a festival of fun activities.
Thank you, Sarah. Councilwoman Hammond?
Well, congratulations on 30 years, and I'll be happy to move for approval.
Councilwoman, do you mind if I just add a quick note? I just wanted to say, as a teacher, thank you for speaking at the podium. I just started teaching last week again. What I loved about what just happened here is the way you slowed down and the way you guided each other through those words, word by word, line by line, with your hand going there. That's something that my college students still have to practice to take on big concepts. And I loved seeing you come alive when it was your name and it was your cousin and your friends and these things. So thank you, because that's something I can take back into the classroom tomorrow to remind students that when things look tough, they can slow down and kind of go line by line, word by word. So thank you for
Well, Addie wants to go to school at OU. She's a senior this year at Edmond Memorial.
And also, I'm a senior captain for my swim team.
All right, we are taking a motion and a second to approve this permit. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Good job, Adam.
Thank you.
All right, next up is item 8E, a revocable right-of-way use permit with the Plaza District Association to hold the Plaza District Festival on September 28th on Northwest 16th. And we have Rachel Crawford here.
Good morning, City Council. My name is Rachel Crawford, and I'm the Executive Director of the Plaza District Association and Plaza Business Alliance, otherwise known as the Plaza District. And this is our 25th anniversary of Plaza Fest. I am just curious, just by a show of hands, how many of you have been to Plaza Fest before? Awesome. So imagine just in the beginning when this is the days of Susan Hogan, Georgie Reyes, people who were just neighbors of Classen Timpen and Gatewood, gathering maybe a couple hundred people, if they were lucky, with grills and really minimalist activities, just getting it start into what it's grown into today. And a lot of people will ask me, what is it about the Plaza District that people are drawn to? And I think it's our experiences. Since I've been executive director, I've produced 52 events in the Plaza District. We do a monthly block party, but Plaza Fest is a culmination of 4 different music stages. We also work with Plaza Walls Mural Expo. They welcome in 40 muralists from across the country, sometimes across the world. They're a volunteer-run organization. If you get a chance to come to the Plaza District the week leading up to the festival, which is Saturday, September 28th, please do. It's fun to walk around late. They're doing murals until 2, 3, 4 in the morning sometimes. But we have heard from business owners that again and again, because of our events, particularly Plaza Fest, it's what helps keep small business owners' doors open. So in a time where we're seeing a lot of spaces vacant and available, what I think really sets us apart is our city's support, especially City Council, of our revocable permits for our events. So Plaza Fest, we do a partnership with ACM at UCO, where their students manage and book this stage between Mondaire and Velvet Monkey. And you have to be an alum or current student of ACM at UCO to be able to be booked on that stage. We also work with the Agreement Community, Oklahoma City Thunder, and Oklahoma City Arts Council to do a street dance stage between Bad Granny's and the Margarita Garden. We have a main stage where we book talent, and it'll culminate into the headliners, which are Original Flow and the Waves, and Skating Polly, which is a very popular band that actually got their start in Gatewood, playing in the back room of Bad Granny's. We will have a kids area. We'll welcome Ghostbusters, OU Pick and Hammer, lots of different kids activities. And we'll have over 40 artist vendors, 10 food trucks, and really highlight a lot of the existing small businesses, which right now in the Plaza District, we have 58 small businesses in a 3-block stretch. I just want to say thank you again. Mayor, last year you were such a great sport. We convinced you to get a tattoo at No Regrets.
I don't know why you're using air quotes.
I know. We might have something up our sleeves still. I'll be in touch if we do have something. But I invite all of you, and Nikki, and really any of you, if you want a festival t-shirt, let me know, and we'll have it ready for you. Let me know what your size is. But please come have some fun with us.
Yes, please.
It'll be a great day. We appreciate you. And I do want to give a very special shout out to our first-year co-chairs, Shannon Sipes and Lee Emerson. They've been absolutely incredible. I've produced a lot of festivals, and I'm not supposed to be biased, but you're probably my favorite co-chairs that we've ever had. Just wonderful people. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Rachel. Let's see if we can get a motion. Oh, Councilwoman Hammond, sorry.
Well, I was going to say, it seems like we're celebrating a lot of milestones today, so congratulations on year 25, and I'm very happy to move for approval.
Thanks.
Got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
All right, item 8F is a revocable right-of-way use permit with Uptown 23rd to hold Uptown Outside on September 14th on Northwest 23rd. And LaToya Mason is here to speak.
Hi, friends. Well, before we even start, let's give it up for Oklahoma City. We are doing it. This is an amazing day, and I am just so pleased to be here. But I am LaToya Mason, event coordinator for Uptown Outside. This is Juliana Lopez. She is the district manager for Uptown 23rd District, and this is David Chitwood, and he is our committee chair. This is year 3, y'all. We have been doing this for 3 years. Uptown Outside is essentially a call to action for a couple things. It is a call to action to bring people back to the businesses after the pandemic, to increase revenue and bring those businesses back to life in the Uptown 23rd District. It's also the answer to the walkability efforts that is happening all over Oklahoma City, but specifically in the 23rd Street District. If you frequent that area, which we all do, we know how many cars travel up Northwest 23rd Street in a day, and how dangerous it can be for pedestrians to walk. And it is so important to the district. It's so important to our neighbors. It's important to our children to be able to walk in their neighborhoods and feel safe. And so we shut down Northwest 23rd Street, and we walk in the middle of the street. We play music in the middle of the street. We eat food. We have our families there. We have our friends, and we enjoy the melting pot that is Oklahoma City and the melting pot that is Northwest 23rd Street. we standing here are a perfect example of what this district is. It is diversity, it is inclusion, it is fun, it is a band of misfits that hang out on Northwest 23rd Street, and we are just so excited about this event. It is September 14th from 4 to 10. We shut down the street starting at 8 a.m. We have food trucks. We have a main stage with tons of local and abroad talent. We have a skate park because we have Money Ruins Everything right there on Northwest 23rd Street, and it is just a funky good time. And so we hope to get a unanimous vote today, and we also hope to see you all there. We really have enjoyed the support of Oklahoma City, and we want to continue that, and we want you all to enjoy that as well.
Thank you. So this crosses into 2 wards, so just jump in, whoever wants, what, wards 2 and 6?
They're gonna think I paid you to come up here talking about walkability like that. I did not receive any payment. No, it's just, thank you for what you're saying. It's just what I heard at the doors over and over and over and over and over again, to prioritize being able to walk safely from people's home to businesses. And I love when the residents come back up to this podium and echo that, because sometimes there are some people in leadership positions who don't seem to hear me when I talk like you are speaking right now. So I want to amplify your voices, and your vision. That's why I'm in this seat. And it was so fun last year doing the hosting for this event and getting to meet these cool bands. Some of them I hadn't heard of them because I'm 42, so I'm not cool anymore. But I'm just not. It is what it is. I play Zelda. But no, just thank you for what you're doing, and I'll turn it over to Councilwoman Hammond.
Well, I'm not 42, but I don't know if I was ever cool, so usually I have not heard of the bands, but it's always a very fun time, and I'm really looking forward to it again this year. Happy to move for approval.
Can I say, the band y'all had last year, I had to put on repeat on my, I hadn't heard of them, but it was a good band. Yeah. So bring another one like that, please.
We will. We got you.
All right, well, we've got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, now we're going to recess the council meeting and convene as the Oklahoma City Municipal Facilities Authority, where we have items A through D, and item C2, staff is not requesting an executive session.
I'd like to request we move into executive session.
All right, we have a motion for C2 to enter into executive session. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Fails 4-5, and so we could take the items A through D then with one motion. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes 7-2. Now we'll adjourn OCMFA and convene as the Oklahoma City Public Property Authority, where we have items A through C we could take with one motion. A motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. We'll adjourn OCPPA and reconvene as the council, where we are on item 9, the consent docket. There are no items here today for a presentation, but if there's something that a council member wishes to pull out for a separate vote or question or comment, now's the time.
I would like to vote separately on item AF.
Did you say AF? This is the land use typology? Okay. Okay.
Can we hear a little bit, Mayor, about, I think these are pretty neat, item AJ and AL and AM, please? I think that's,
Was that last one M or N?
M is in Mary.
Okay.
And then also just an update on item BA, as in Bachelors of Arts, I don't know.
Very clever. I'd like, since we're going to go with AJ, AH and AI, they're along that cusp of the subject.
Okay. All right, then we will take these in order, which means we'll start with a separate vote on item AF.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Justin Henry from the...
We're going to do a separate vote on AF first.
Sorry?
1 second. 1 second, we'll get you up.
We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes 7-1. We're also going to back up real quick. I saw that Joy Reardon has signed up to speak on the zoning cases being introduced today.
Hello? Oh. Hello, Council. I'm back. Joy Reardon, 125 Northwest 9th. I've actually got 3 of them in the 9 section.
Okay.
The zoning is my normal zoning. Why do we keep building out? We have no resources to keep building out the way people are wanting to build out, the developers and stuff like that. I understand everybody's position on the building out portion of it. How about we build in and figure out why people don't want to be in the city? I've heard arguments at this horseshoe many, many times, and you still haven't convinced me not to come up here and talk about the zoning stuff. And then the stuff that y'all just voted on, plus all the resolutions to do the surface thing. You're going to do what you want to do, no matter who the citizens, if there was 1,000 citizens in here, which would be over capacity, you're not listening to them. You're not listening to the average citizen. And quite frankly, I know that there's a bunch of us that are sick and tired of it. We come up here time and time again, and y'all vote to not hear us. You only hear the people from like Nichols Hills or way up on the north side. A lot of this stuff doesn't make any sense. The streets that y'all want to put on this thing to fix don't need to be fixed. We've got streets right, hello? We've got streets right here in the central core of Oklahoma City that are literally falling apart. Look at Exchange from where the 5 Point area is all the way over to Agnew. It's literally they're having to patch it all the time. There are several other streets that really need to look at. And you're talking about walkability. How about the ADA? I've come up here time and time again and asked for y'all to do something about them scooters. I'll bring that up again later. And then with the funding that y'all the budget for
30 seconds, please.
The budget for the bus system, please give them more so they can get some newer buses. Because the buses they've got, the older buses, the 1100, 13, the 09s, they're literally falling apart. Please, help us out. And then I'll be back for the rest of it.
Okay, so items AH, AI, AJAL, and AM were all called out. They are all relating to Surface Transportation Block Grant Urbanized Area Funds. And now I think we'll hear from staff about that.
Sorry for jumping the gun. Good morning, Mayor and Council. My name is Justin Henry with the City Planning Department, helping kind of organize some of these grant applications. Every year, the city applies to the Association of Central Oklahoma Governments, ACOG, for funding for projects of various kinds. The selection of projects, kind of AJ through AS this year, is our selection of applications to STBG, which is the Surface Transportation Block Grant, and TAP, which is the Transportation Alternatives Programs. These are federal funds that are received by ACOG, and then they put out a call for opportunities for their municipalities. So that's what we're applying to on these. Most of these are existing projects of some kind that we're hoping to either get some of the funding covered by the federal program or to supplement and make a bigger and better project. So specifically here on AI, on the Martin Luther King, right now the city has a fairly small traffic impact fee project to reduce some of the intersections there on I-44. This would expand that and add some resurfacing elements, some additional sidewalks, and possibly a trail that could kind of connect from the Millwood area back down to the existing trail. Let's see, AJ is the MyoVision Opticon project. That is something that's kind of come out of our initial Vision Zero planning and in coordination with our new Office of Innovation. There's a technology now, we already use some smart traffic signals, but this is kind of an expanded, upgraded version that would allow for things like emergency vehicle preemption. So fire trucks approaching an intersection would get preferential treatment. It would clear all green so that they could go through more quickly and respond faster. It also has the ability for the signals to talk to one another so that they can more appropriately time the traffic flow and make it flow better. And then it also has the option to put cameras up on some of them as well, and it'll record accidents or near misses, and then that's data that we can go back and use to try to make some of the intersections safer. AL is the North Portland Street Enhancement. This is already an existing project that's pretty close, far along in plans, but one of the things that the project didn't currently include was street resurfacing, so we're hoping to add street resurfacing to the project. And then AM is the Northwestern. This would just be some additional sidewalks and supplementing some of the funding we don't have so we can go farther. Happy to answer any additional questions.
I see AO, is there a specific reason and purpose for that project?
Yeah, so AO, there's a couple of reasons. It's something that we've kind of put forward. It's in Bike Walk OKC. We've offered as an optional project that will be coming to the MAPS 4 boards for consideration for their Phase 2 bike lanes. It will also, it would kind of also supplement if there is an Olympics event. This would allow for some additional access to the river sports venues as well. So, yeah.
Thank you for that update. The Portland one is, of course, very important. This was the areas I've reminded council before that a woman in a wheelchair you saw in the news last few months was hit. A vehicle hit her 3 different times in her wheelchair as she was trying to cross Portland, right? Mm-hmm. So when we talk about ADA and when we talk about walkability, it's projects like this one that are paramount. So I just want to thank voters back in 2017 who approved the initial round of funding. And I want to thank you all for applying for the resurfacing funding here, because I know that Director Miller in Public Works has identified this area for consideration in the next bond for resurfacing. So if you all can get this grant funding, that frees up the next street on that list to move into priority on the bond consideration. So I'm really happy when I hear you all thinking ahead and applying for grants. So I just wanted to draw attention to that. And then I would just also say, it's not just sidewalks that you're putting in Western, it is sidewalks you're putting in on Western. They're important, and so I just really want to thank you for that. But it's really, again, trying to find these different revenue sources frees up money and bond consideration. So just wanted to draw attention to that as well. And these are areas that people have asked me in Ward 2 to prioritize for walkability. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's see. That brings us to BA, Councilman Cooper.
Okay. Yes, speaking of walkability and bike improvements, would you mind just kind of describing to us what this amendment does, please?
Sure. Debbie Miller with the Public Works Department. Item BA is an amendment to the engineering contract. This project provides a bike route along Northwest Grand Boulevard and Independence, and it connects to the Burt Cooper Trail. It also provides intersection improvements at Independence and Northwest Expressway and sidewalks on North Independence. I believe this is also a match to the BRT, Northwest BRT. This is actually in construction, and we expect it to be completed late this year.
So I thank you for that update. So I had a resident ask on, I think it was on Facebook when I was posting about the maps for sidewalks recently. They had also asked about Independence in the Mayfair West area. So I see this is going down to 47th. When I say down, I mean south to 47th.
Right.
Do we know now, will this complete pedestrian infrastructure on Independence from 50th heading back to I-44? Do we know what gaps will remain?
I can find those out for you. I don't have those right now, but I'd be glad to get it to you.
That'd be great, because Amanda had asked for that. I recommended to her she send an email to Ward 2, but if we can find out for her, then I can just give her that response.
Perfect.
So, yes, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And we have a resident who signed up to speak on item BR, Billy Lewis.
Thank you, Mayor. It's BR and BS. It's the Downtown Improvement District. So I'm the chairman of the Downtown Business Improvement District Board. We have a number of our people here in support of this. I know this is just a placeholder until we have a public hearing, but I wanted to take a minute and thank you guys for having us. As you know, we do beautification, maintenance, event management, underground and canal. We cover the Deep Deuce area all the way over to West Village and Midtown and the Downtown Improvement District. You probably see us mostly with the Green Team project. You'll see those green cars going around, and they do some extra cleaning and safe. Downtown in December, we maintain over 1,000 of the city trees in the downtown core. And we have all voted to tax ourselves as property owners. I'm a property owner in the Downtown Business District. And this board gets together and we've voted to tax ourselves to provide these extra services. Just wanted to advise that the sub-districts have all approved theirs. We have 23 people on our board, on our bid improvement district, and we actually passed our budget unanimously this year. So that was a good thing. We actually, our assessment rates are actually, for each property owner, going to go down a little bit because of new projects that came on, even though our budget went up as services come on. But I wanted to thank specifically Jennifer, who's the president, and Fiend again. They are fabulous at what they do. We couldn't do it without them. We wanted to thank the city staff that works with us. You guys have multiple people in our meetings, our quarterly meetings, and they're very active. I also want to thank you all. This is the third iteration. It's coming up on 25 years now. It wouldn't be that this downtown would not be as vibrant and safe and beautiful without all of you, and so I wanted to take a minute and thank all of you. And so we'd vote in favor of this. I know there's a public hearing coming up on it next, but thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, that concludes our items on the consent docket that had been pulled out, so we could take a motion now to adopt that which is remaining. I have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Item 10 is the concurrence docket. We have items A through N we could take with one motion. We've got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Item 11, items for individual consideration. Item 11A is an ordinance on final hearing. It was recommended for approval, rezoning 7200 North Santa Fe from R1 to AA. This was deferred from July 30th. Councilwoman Nice, Jeff Van Hoos has signed up to speak.
Okay. I know Miss Debbie did speak with him, and I did speak with the property owner this week. And so I'm going to ask that we defer this until our next meeting, as far as our first meeting in September, because there are still some compliance violations that I want to get taken care of, because I am very concerned about the property owner and the violations that are currently existing in order to deem the property necessary for the zoning request. And they have advised me that they will take care of that. They just need a little time. So I'm going to grant them that time and ask that we just move this to our first meeting in September. And after that, that will be my final decision. Thank you.
All right, so that would be September 10th. All right, we have a motion to defer item 11A. Motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Joy Reardon has signed up to speak on the zoning cases in general. Okay. Joy waves. 11B is an ordinance on final hearing recommended for approval, rezoning 3301 Northeast 11th from R1 to R2. This was deferred from August 13th. Councilwoman Nice, no one has signed up to speak.
Okay, I did speak to Mr. Porras and talked about his development, and I just wanted to thank him for his time for that conversation. I did advise him that if he didn't show up, it was okay. But I also want to thank him for his commitment to talking to the neighbors as far as his development is concerned. And I did watch the Planning Commission meeting pertaining to this particular case and the one that's coming up after. And we had neighbors that showed up in support for this particular development. So again, I will move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passed unanimously. Item 11C is an ordinance on final hearing recommended for approval, rezoning 1500 Northeast 25th from R1 and HNO to R3 and HNO. This was deferred from August 13th. Councilwoman Nice, no one has signed up to speak.
Thank you. I know the applicant is here, Ms. Brown, so you're fine. I was able to speak with her about her development, and as I previously stated, I was able to watch the Planning Commission meeting, so we were able to discuss what's coming. And I know she's going to be getting with me soon, so I can actually see what she's bringing to the neighborhood, and she has committed to also connecting with the neighbors in this particular neighborhood as well. So with that, I will move for approval.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. All right, 11D, 2 is an ordinance on final hearing recommended for approval, rezoning 501 East I-44 Service Road from R1, PUD 1842, PUD 1228, and O2 to PUD 2019. And then D1 is an amendment to the master design statement related to this application. This was deferred from July 30th and August 13th, and Councilwoman Nice, no one has signed up to speak.
Okay, thank you. For this, we did have a couple of more amendment changes, so would I be able to, just want to ensure to the clerk, would I be able to add those into this amendment to the master design statement for one, those additional changes, or do we need to add for the record state? Two votes? Okay, no problem. All right. For this particular application, and thank you to the applicant, I heard from the community, so there are just a couple of more asks that we were able to receive.
So under 9.0, we would like to eliminate 8250.2, 8250.3, and 8250.11 to the master design statement, to amend the master design statement. So I would ask for approval of that amendment first.
Okay, so is this the amendment listed on the agenda, or is
No,
this
this is
a further
separate.
amendment? Okay. So we have a motion to amend as stated. We've got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously.
And I will ask that we amend the master design as stated with those additions.
All right, so this is a motion for D1. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously.
And now I ask that we will approve the application as amended.
This is a motion to adopt item D2. Got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. All right, item 11E is an ordinance on final hearing that was recommended for approval, rezoning 1821 North MacArthur from R4 to SPUD 1621. This was deferred July 2nd, 16th, and 30th, and August 13th. Councilman Cooper, no one has signed up to speak.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I just stepped away again to verify if we had received any communication from the applicant, and we had not. And for the public record, I'd like to say that I just asked Boyd Fulton, our council staff, to give him another call. We did, no answer. We left a voicemail. And I just say that because there's that number of deferrals. I really appreciate council's patience and grace there, you know, and I understand I didn't want to deny this because, you know, you have this whole administrative process one must go through when you're applying for zoning. I hate sending someone back through that, but just as Portland is getting a streetscape to address the walkability concerns we heard earlier, so too is MacArthur. And I wanted to make sure that this particular development is, you know, complementing that, working alongside that. And I had asked for renderings, and we just have not received those. And I don't think that's of any ill will from the applicant. I just, for whatever reason, we just haven't received that. And I would have liked to. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to move for denial here. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Please, Mayor.
I don't have a strong opinion here, but I wonder if like a table indefinitely would be, because you're right, if you deny it and this person shows up and they were in the hospital this whole time or something,
Sure.
they've got to go through the entire planning process with all those notices again. I don't know if that's even legally possible, Laura, but it's just a suggestion, like a motion, essentially a motion to postpone indefinitely. It would just never appear again until he wants to bring it back. It may just go into limbo forever, but.
I'll take a quick look, so if we want to move that to the end of the
Is that
docket.
okay? I mean,
Yeah,
are you open to
and
that? I don't have a strong opinion.
I'm not in a punitive mood. You know, I'm not trying to, yeah, I just.
That way we don't have to keep bringing it back.
Sure.
It's just out there, and if the gentleman ever surfaces.
That's totally fine with me. I just can't stress enough. We have the streetscape coming, and I just want to make sure that this development is compatible in terms of its literal design. And he was fine with doing that. We just haven't heard from him, so.
If you move to postpone it indefinitely.
Well, she's looking it up to make sure that
Yeah,
you're comfortable.
you can raise it again at any subsequent meeting.
Right. Okay.
So once we
So
get that.
we'll pause on that and let Laura look that up, and then we'll move on, and we'll come
I
back.
think it's Article 11, maybe, in Robert's Rules of Order.
Okay, so item 11F is an ordinance on final hearing. This is the third of 3 meetings where we have considered this proposed ordinance that addresses electricians doing work for the city itself. This was presented a couple of meetings ago, and then there was a public hearing, and today we could adopt if that is what the council desires. motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Okay, 11G is an ordinance to be introduced, set for public hearing on September 10th, final hearing on September 24th, relating to drainage and flood control, and we have a presentation.
Yes, Debbie Miller, our Public Works Director, will just give us an update on the proposed amendments to this ordinance.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Debbie Miller. I'm excited to be here today. I'm to introduce the changes to Chapter 16 of the Municipal Ordinance that we affectionately call the Drainage Ordinance. There hasn't been a major update to the ordinance since the early 1980s, and with the growth of the city, it's time that we need to institute some stronger requirements. We started in 2021 with 2 engineering firms who helped us review the existing ordinance and to make recommendations. We had 2 public meetings in 2021. We took all of those comments, we've addressed those, and we came back out in May of this year and had 2 more public meetings. We have talked with everyone who had any concerns. Our major changes, detention is going to be required for all development. There is an opportunity for a waiver. Drainage channel design will be increased to 100-year instead of just 50. And the current ordinance currently includes design criteria. We wanted to remove that from that and put it into the drainage criteria manual, which will be part of the ordinance. And we'll be able to make changes as things change and we need to change the way we calculate. So we'll be able to do that easier without having to come back to you every time. We are removing the storm sewer criteria and we're creating the drainage criteria. I said that, sorry. Increasing storm sewer requirements is part of what we're doing, and we are clarifying the public versus private storm sewer. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Just a couple. As far as the 2021 meetings that we had in comparison to the most recent meetings, did we have around the same amount of people or less people show up? And I asked that in relation to all of the other ordinance conversations that we've had most recently with people, I would say, just putting all of these things together, if you will, and some of us just getting fatigued from continuously having these types of meetings and essentially putting them by the wayside because of having to go to more meetings. So just curious as far as our numbers are concerned, with the same amount of people being able to be contacted this round in comparison to 2 to 3 years ago.
We use the same contact list. We sent out emails to all the firms. I contacted the developers to make sure they were aware of what was going on. We did not have as many people attend the public meetings in May, and we think it's due to the fact that we'd addressed all their comments from the 2021 meetings.
Okay. And I kind of heard you address this, so I would like for maybe just some more explanation. I understand in this particular ordinance change as well that there's going to be more of an administrative function where you did say that wouldn't have to come to the council for a vote. I'm just curious. I understand maybe we're going to say it's timing in order for these things to be done more efficiently, but at the same time, not being able to understand as far as with the concerns of some of our developers that will come to us asking these questions, we will not be able to have that type of way to assist from our administrative view of being able to work with that said developer. So just curious why this change in comparison to keeping at least that function the way it was.
Typically, design criteria should be in the ordinance. As things develop, as more, I guess how I'm trying to say that, climate change, and we may change the way that we determine what the rainfall is, or we may determine what the drainage is coming to that system. So giving it into the drainage criteria, we can make those changes, but we don't just do that. We actually put it out for public comment. We send it to everyone and say, hey, we're going to make these changes and here is why. Please give us your comments. So it's not like we just change it and it's done. We actually reach out to everybody and make sure they're aware and understand why we're doing that.
Debbie, is there also a notification requirement? Isn't there some time period that we have to provide
It's
that notification?
45 days.
Debbie, is there projects that are already in the works are not affected by?
This will go into effect January 1st. So projects that are going through the system now will not be subject to this change.
At the risk of sounding like a bit of a broken record, my big picture concern when it comes to drainage, and of course Director Miller's heard this, and again the broken record is that I'm council, I've said this to you all before. My understanding is that we have, a $500 million to $1 billion infrastructure need when it comes to drainage. And when we are in this early phase of crafting our upcoming bond for the 2025 election, where voters will get to approve projects, when I've looked at my list of drainage projects for Ward 2, it's barely a handful that we're going to be able to fund, barely. And while I'm happy about that I can actually address some of these issues that I've heard from residents. I mean, I literally there are 2 residents right now that I am telling you, it is a constant email or text whenever these rains come, but there's so many other. And so I just really worry about how we're going to be able to long-term address this. In other words, my worry is that the only plan the city of OKC has in place right now to address its drainage needs in terms of infrastructure is that every 10 years on the 7th, when we have a bond election, that's when we do it. And I just think that is a constant reactionary approach, and I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in like a proactive way at it. So do we have a plan in motion that's going to allow us to study what our ongoing revenue source is going to be outside of the bond? I just don't think that this constant backlog is a good thing for our residents.
I mean, we can study how much we need. It doesn't create revenue, right? It's like, and we look at all kinds of ways that we can generate revenue. We do want to make sure that we're keeping up with fees. We're going to have some fee increases coming in the future that we need to do to try to help address some of these issues. But really, I see that ultimately, I mean, for us, the bond issue is the primary source of funding for drainage improvements that we need. So the question might be, do we look at adjusting the rate on our bonds? I mean, the millage rate that we have, that might, that provides us some potential there as well, because as much as we have issues with drainage, we also have the same kind of needs with streets. So it's the same challenge that we have there. But then on the other side, you look at other revenue sources that we have available to us, like sales tax, and we have significant operational needs that we really need to be addressing. So it's always trying to strike that balance. So I don't mean that in any way discounting what you're saying. You're absolutely right. We need a better way to fund, or more, additional funding or additional resources. But I really do see keeping the capital investments primarily on that GO bond side is the direction that we're on right now.
Yeah,
While we're having this discussion, I would also add to the list traffic lights.
Mm-hmm.
I've got traffic lights that were approved going back to 2017 and still don't have it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, and I guess that's where, yes, my traffic commissioner, that is a topic he brings up all the time, is the lights. But impact fees has been one way we've thought outside the box to address that. It's just that we haven't gotten to a place where we're implementing that. But we haven't brought that sort of creativity yet in terms of thinking outside the box with the street lights to drainage. We haven't done that. And so that's what I'm kind of asking for, is for let's start thinking long term. And the millage rate increase that you're talking about, I support that, as you know, but when I'm looking at the list right now of what we are proposing to address in terms of drainage, with the increased millage, with going up from 16 to 20 mills, I still only have less than a handful of drainage projects that we are able to fund. That's what I'm saying, that there is still, that even with that approach, there's a huge limitation. And that's just Ward 2. I'm thinking all of our wards. Like, this is not, and by the way, you don't win elections by being like, drainage. Like, this is me trying to really get to the root of a need. Yes, please.
I have the same frustration in this, like you said, I'm sure we all get the calls from a handful of people who have really bad flooding that comes with these increased severity of storm events. And, something I'd be interested in seeing is, how, and you mentioned, streetlights and resurfacing and all these other needs, Better Street, Safer City, that interim penny that we use to try to take a huge chunk out of our resurfacing needs and other street needs. I would think that's maybe a creative way that once, we maybe had the opportunity to collect $1 billion to, benefit our residents in that way, but that we didn't think creatively to do so. But maybe in that interim, between another proposal, maybe there's an opportunity to take a chunk out of that, because in my mind, we are we as a city, whether that is individuals or thinking proactively and actually helping with these, we're bearing the cost. Our residents are bearing the cost of these flooding issues. They're doing the cleanup, they're losing days of business, maybe their insurance premiums are going up, whatever it is, they are privately bearing the cost of us not collectively addressing these infrastructure needs. And so that is money that they can't spend on things that are sales taxable. That is money that they can't spend on improving their properties, the things that, would give back to the city and then county coffers that help with things like bond issues. So that's kind of, that's one thing that I've been thinking about as maybe a creative way, because I don't think it is new revenue, but it is a way to use, in my mind, it's a quality of life issue, because knowing the handful of people that I do hear from, there's likely so many more people that I'm not hearing from because they don't know that they can or should reach out to the city about flooding on their property, regardless of how severe it is. But that's an idea that I just was like, well, if we're talking about it, I'm going to throw that out into the hopper. So.
And I'm glad you did, because, right now that penny sales tax will find itself after the 16 MAPS projects going to this new arena, but we need to be thinking about that sales tax, that penny, and being creative again with it. I just think it's so important, and I know sometimes this makes some of us up here uncomfortable because I understand it as someone who has a tendency toward perfectionism. When one hears the critique, it hurts. You're like, no, but I thought I was doing it perfect. Remember, everyone who stood at this podium earlier before Director Miller, whether it was Uptown or, whatever the event was, there are exciting things happening here. And I hear all the time people be very excited, not just about those events, but all the construction and the investment. So this isn't like me being like, boo, OKC. It's me going, yes, and, right? We're making these moves forward, and we need to be thinking about these longer term kind of issues here. So don't misunderstand when you're hearing us say these things that this is like, just misery. It's it's like, how do we keep moving forward? So.
And to the point of that, I will say, talking about drainage is not sexy. It's not a sexy subject to talk about, but as I was listening to the conversation, it made me think about residents who have reached out to talk about even their drainage channels that they said the city used to maintain, and now we don't do that anymore. And therefore, those are also causing issues for some of our residents to have that backup as far as that flooding is concerned. So can also be a caveat of ways for us to bring that type of work back to the forefront in order for us to help maintain some of those channels for our residents as well, because, you know, it's hard to have the conversation with some of our more senior residents that are used to us doing that, and now telling them we don't do that, and they will fuss you down the conversation to let you know what used to happen. So if there is a way, as we're having these conversations, what does that look like to bring even some of that type of work back to the forefront of us maintaining some, if not all, of the ways that we look at those drainage channels in neighborhoods?
Thank you, Debbie.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so this is to, again, introduce this proposed ordinance change relating to drainage. And then the hearing on September 10th, final hearing September 24th. We can take a motion. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Ordinance is introduced. Okay, we're still looking into that previous issue, so let's move on then to item H. And this is a public hearing regarding the dilapidated structures here listed. We do have some folks who have signed up to speak. Blaine Nice has signed up to speak on item B. Sure, come on. Please.
This is a matter you postponed 2 weeks ago at Councilmember Carter's request. He said no more continuances, and I respect that, so I have no issues with that. My clients have advised me they didn't get closed in those 2 weeks. It looks like it's going to be the first or second week in September, more likely the second week because of the Labor Day holiday. This has been going on for a while, and I understand his concern. Staff has been helpful. What's going to happen if you approve this today, they're going to file their notice of intent to file a lien. And my concern is that that's going to muck up the financing, which is where we're at, everything in place. And just that notice itself is going to raise other issues. Now, I realize once the city files that, we have 30 days to take action or submit a plan to correct this. These are two separate units out of a 100-unit apartment complex. They can be repaired. They're trying to get the financing in place. As the staff will tell you, the council's aware, if you take this action and it doesn't get repaired, the city only has the option of raising the building. So that will take a number of affordable, apartments away. But the main thing right now is they're close. I know it's time to fish or cut bait. I totally understand that, and I just humbly ask you to put this off until the second meeting in September. I think I may have said, but I will not come and ask again. I've told my client that. I told my client I would come over today and implore you to consider putting it off until the end of September. But that, I'm not going to lose my reputation and my credit with the council by keep coming back here and begging and saying it's going to get done. I've talked to them. We've told them about the importance of getting this done, but this is a $55 million refinancing. There's a lot of moving parts, as you well know, and it's happening up in New York. But this is as my client told the council member, the idea of this is for affordable housing. And those units, they were mismanaged for years. Now that they've been involved, they had a manager on site that wasn't doing a very good job. They've replaced them. They've got a lot more boots on the ground, and they're really more involved. They were supposed to have, at Councilmember Carter's request, put a rollaway out there and start kind of cleaning some things up, because the issue is there's a neighborhood next to it where a lot of people are coming through the fence on this apartments and going next door to the neighborhood. Now, quite frankly, they're not necessarily our residents. There's a lot of displaced people out there, and they're going over and doing it. So, but obviously, we're responsible for our property. So, I appreciate Councilmember Carter's position. I would just humbly ask that this be postponed until the second meeting in September. See if they can get this done, because the notice of intent is going to hurt us.
Councilman Carter.
Can I ask a question real quick? Just a point of clarification, because I heard there were 2 units, but I see all of the units on our dilapidated.
Two
buildings.
large buildings that
Okay.
hold all of these.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Can we see the pictures?
You have anything?
Well, Mr. Nicewile, I appreciate, and I do appreciate you coming forth and speaking on behalf of your client. This has been going on for 6 months.
I know.
And I gave him my word last meeting, and I'm gonna have to keep that. So it's gonna be my desire that we keep this on the dilapidated structures list for now.
And I appreciate that. I just asked that the rest of the council vote no and give us 2 more meetings, but I appreciate that.
Well, it's also my understanding with this even on here, you're gonna have 30 days before we actually do.
Yeah. It's just the notice of intent to file a lien that will be filed by Friday that could impact the financing. Because once that notice is out there, as the municipal council will tell you, there's going to be a title attorney that's just going to raise a red flag, and that's just my concern. It's the time. They could get some things done, submit a plan, as you can see from the pictures. They've secured it, and that matter has been withdrawn. It's just, and they want to rehab these buildings. They don't want to tear them down. I know they'll submit a plan. It's just like I said. It's just the notice of intent to file the lien that I've seen title attorneys, they'll just go nuts, and the financing, these people, there's a lot of people involved, and it could slow it down. I'm not saying it would keep it from getting done. It could just make it even more difficult. So, and I respect your word, and you said that. So I had no disillusions when I came here today you were going to do anything other. So, and I certainly don't take it personal.
Appreciate that.
May I add, and Councilman Stone, thank you for your request to pull up these images. My hope when I join this vote, I appreciate where you're taking this, Councilman Carter. It is not about, in my opinion, my humble opinion, it is not about the neighborhood. And I know this is not toward you because you're representing the people who built this structure. It is not about the neighborhood beside it. It is not about the people within it. It is about how once upon a time someone constructed this building. This building, you see the holes, you see everything like that, but when they constructed this in the first place, and you can see it, it was never designed to lend itself to creating community. That's the problem here. There are people all across the city, when they look at these apartments, they don't see the apartments, they see the people inside these apartments, and they think that something is inherently, fundamentally wrong with these people. I hear this all the time. They think that these are people who are almost like born to be drug dealers, born to be criminals, born to commit violence. They are not. Whoever did this and built this and then left it to years of mismanagement created an environment that shaped people in horrible ways. And I think it's unforgivable what is there. Hang on, I know you want to interrupt me, but this is important. This is important. When I first took council, when I took this seat, we were talking about putting a youth center over in this area to try to intervene in the lives of the families who live over here. That's the steps the city was willing to make to be proactive in here. I think this building is a warning, a lesson to any developer going forward in terms of how not to construct multifamily apartment units. You go look in the Paseo and you can see what community constructed apartment units look like, and this ain't it. And so I know that's not you, you're their counsel, but we can't keep letting apartment buildings like this come into existence because they create the conditions for crime, and they make people think that certain types of people are criminals, and I'm tired of that. I'm tired of that. I'm tired of that. So that's all I have to say here. There's not even a reason to respond.
Mr. Mayor, may I respond? I mean, with all due respect, my clients didn't build this. They owned it since then, and this is, their intention is for affordable housing there. I don't think, I understand where you're coming from. I've been in zoning and planning for years, and I appreciate the designs you're talking about. Hopefully things are changing, but the issue here today is whether or not this is, you guys vote that this to be condemned. And like I said, that's going to impact our financing. That's my only request. I just would respectfully request that you vote down the motion and then maybe reconsider postponing it.
If we are keeping that on, I would ask that we defer item A, 1213 North Page Avenue.
Okay.
And, is this Mr. Lofty's? No, I know that's not you. I'm looking at the gentleman behind you. I'm looking at the gentleman behind you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No. Yeah, you. All right, I've talked to two different Lofties of the family, and the request was because this is a family property that we deferred. There are some things going on in the family that they want to get taken care of. So I have gave them my word that I will work through that. So I'm going to ask that we defer this for 4 weeks as they work through the concerns that they have for the family.
Can we see the pictures of it as well?
Sure. And in the process of this, I understand the parents were deceased, and that's where the notice went elsewhere, and therefore now the notice is working to go towards one of the other children, and they are working to secure the property to make sure that those things will be taken care of as we work through this process. And I don't need to speak for Mr. Lofty's, but if that's okay, that was enough to be said. So again, I'll ask for just for our time to work with them, and I did ask the Lofty's that I did speak with. He's going to continue to keep me updated on what they're doing in the process of this application, of this particular structure. Are there any questions or concerns?
So they're working, so like the holes and the gaps that we're seeing there, they're working right now to secure that?
That's correct.
Thank you.
And this is a historic property. It's built in the 1930s. So I'd hate for us to just allow for the dilapidation if there's a way for this family to take care of this family heirloom that they would want to keep in the family. If you'll come to the mic, Mr. Lofty's, if you have a comment.
My grandfather purchased this house in 1939. It's been in the family for those years, I was going to do more. There have been many people, many persons. We had trouble trying to keep people out of the house. They tore, people would come in and vandalize the house. They came in and took the copper out of the house. And they came in and tore can you believe they took a 2x4 something and damaged the roof so it would go in there. So I retired from the University of Oklahoma a few years ago. And I thought I would have, time to do some work to the house. But then my mother died. And then my wife. She died. And then my father passed away. So in between that time, it got even a little worse, but we boarded it up. We tried to keep people out of there, but it was quite a job, and I was busy taking care of my dad, seeing after my wife, and it just got away from us. But I ask that you all will give us some time.
Mr. Lofties, I just want you to know I'm sorry for your loss of your family. And to those, I don't want to give all of the family business that I have been privy to hearing, but I do know that I talked to Mr. Lofties yesterday, but I talked to another Mr. Lofties last week, one of the brothers, and he advised that that brother was stepping up to assist to ensure that we were able to take care of this. So as you can tell, unfortunately, these are the things that happen in our communities and in our neighborhoods. And I would also, hearing the appeal of Mr. Lofties, ask that we again extend some grace for them to take care of not only this family heirloom, but to take care of each other in this time that we need to get this done. But I will ask Mr. Lofties that, as I asked your brother, to please help keep us updated with what you're doing, because my goal is to get this off of my dilapidated list. I'd like to do that before 4 weeks. So if you can help me with all of the brothers and sisters that you have to put all hands on deck, that would be, I would be most grateful, because I want to make sure I'm helping you in the process, okay? Thank you. So I'll ask again if we will defer that for 4 weeks, and I'll be in contact with the Lofties as much as I can, and hopefully they'll do the same with us.
September 24th.
So this is a motion to defer item H1A to September 24th.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes.
I've got to refresh. Aye.
No, he stepped
He's
out.
not here. Passes unanimously. Okay, we still have a resident who signed to speak on this item, Michael Washington.
Thank you, everyone. Wait. Somebody left the shades here. They love me, but they're not mine. Wonderful people, 100 Park Place, Midwest City. We have a tight squeeze here. From what I've heard so far, I know that this is not going to be an easy task on your part. No, there's these gentlemen that spoke before me. But society requires that dilapidated structures be fixed, repaired, or for whatever identity you want to give it. I agree with Councilwoman Nice, this gentleman to my right. These people should be given an extended period to get things straight. But at the same time, let us not forget, this has to be done because the dilapidated structures have a tendency to decrease homes and values in that area, wherever it may be lying. Buildings such as this gentleman here, I kept seeing the AKA, now that I know now it's the actual units that's attached to those addresses. We do know that that increases and creates an environment for vagrants to come in and actually take hold of structure like that and call it their homes. We know that now. Everybody's not crazy about that idea. But because this is a fact, we have to look at this seriously. We have to make sure that everyone understands that before we can rule or accept a resolution regarding these situations, that we use our God-given right as compassion in our hearts. I don't believe these people just did this on purpose. I wasn't there. Nor am I advocating that you give them 9,000 years. But I do say this in my time closure, 53 seconds. If these structures are not fixed up and in place as they had been agreed upon, you must take steps. And guess what? You've never heard Michael agree much with the council, but today I'm going to. Why? Because others in those areas have a right to live in structures where their values of their property is not decreased or whatever the case may be. Okay, 30 seconds, thank you. But let me say in closing, I see 408. Oh my God, I'm not going to be able to finish. Let me leave it at this. Thank you all for allowing. I know it's been a while. Y'all thought I was going to come back. I am. But thank y'all for this opportunity, and I will, as I promised, be back.
All right, now we're on the resolution found at 11H2, declaring that the structures are dilapidated, save for the one previously deferred. We've got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Item I1 is a public hearing regarding the unsecured structures here listed, except for those previously struck. Amy, has anyone signed up to speak?
No, they haven't.
They have not, and so we'll advance to the resolution found at I2, declaring that the structures are unsecured. Got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Now we're at 11J1, the public hearing regarding the abandoned buildings here listed. Mr. Nice, do you wish to speak again? Mr. Nice, Blaine Nice, do you wish to speak again?
I just, same request as previously.
Right, got it. Okay, and Michael Washington?
As I stand previously, thank you.
Okay. All right, well, no one else has signed up to speak, so we can advance to the resolution at J2, declaring that the buildings are abandoned. Mark, I think you went back out of here again. Got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Okay, now we're going to back up to item 11E. So I think what, I hate that she ran. But I think I can interpret what she said. Basically, if you do a motion to postpone indefinitely, At some point in the future, if you wish to bring it back, you'll tell clerk, legal staff, they will need, because of the unique nature of zoning cases, they will need to notice the neighbors again for the council hearing, so they know when it's coming back. But I haven't missed much. I'm explaining your legal advice.
My apologies.
And so they'll receive notice, just as they did this time around, so they'll know that it's coming back, and then it'll be placed on the agenda at your request at a future date, if the spirit should so move you. And I guess, I mean, technically speaking, a motion to postpone indefinitely could be revived anytime into perpetuity.
Right, and we would just need to get an updated property list so that we would be able to notice the appropriate property owners. And,
yeah.
But that could be handled administratively.
Yes. Okay. So again, I don't have a strong opinion, but if you'd like to make that motion, it struck me as more fair to potential situations that we may not know about regarding the applicant.
Councilman has a look on his face.
Got a question for you. I understand you're worried about the streetscape on MacArthur, but this thing is offset off MacArthur by, I don't know, it doesn't have a measurement. I'm going to say at least 100 feet. So I'm just curious, like, how that would impact the streetscape on MacArthur.
Sure. So initially, when this came before the planning department, or commission and department, there was a conversation about, for instance, where the parking is in relation to MacArthur. And so this is going to ultimately be like a strip mall project. And I'm of the strong belief, just because of what I understand about, best practices in the planning world, that if you're going to make a street a bit more walkable, then you don't want a giant gulf of parking spaces between the structure and the street, the sidewalk, et cetera. So when I spoke with Terry, he was like, yeah, actually, that was kind of my initial plan. So we were going to look at together what that was. That's why the renderings were so important. And we just haven't gotten those yet. He was going to get them to us. So I just think it's a question of where, because right now he's wanting to set that back really far from the street.
Right. That's how that is, right? Is that how you see that?
He sees that, Layla.
And it's,
yeah.
And it's labeled as a personal storage unit.
Well, so it was a bit more complicated than that. So on the one hand, there was storage. On the other hand, there was him wanting to do this kind of strip mall type structure that would allow for, like, for instance, and I'm just from Terry, like a coffee shop, right? And so, yeah, these sorts of things. So, yeah, there's just kind of a couple things happening. Thank you, Todd. Councilman.
Okay. Well, do you wish to make a motion, Councilman Cooper?
Yes, so long as that's in the legal ground. Yeah, I would make a motion to table this indefinitely, and with the process we just heard the mayor outline for us.
Okay. We've got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Item is postponed indefinitely. Okay, now we're back in the regular order at item 11K. This is a joint resolution with the Oklahoma City Airport Trust renaming Will Rogers World Airport to OKC Will Rogers International Airport. And we have a presentation.
Yes, Jeff Mulder, our airport director, will talk through the process that we went through to make this selection, this recommendation, and then the recommended change in the name.
Good morning. Good morning, Jeff Mulder, Director of Airports. So in front of you, you'll see some slides that provide some background, as Craig mentioned, on the process that we've taken. It kind of started last fall. We determined we really needed to update our website for the airport to bring up to some more modern standards and make it more usable. And at that point in time, we wanted to take a look at the name and the brand for the airport. So we worked with Nominee, a local company, to put together some information. You can see some of the bullet points there, just doing some research, doing local interviews, doing in-passenger interviews, and we also did some public surveys. So next slide, Stacy. I think you jumped. There you go. Really, the questions that were posed was the name of the airport, the logo. Those were the primary questions that were posed and asked to the interviewees, and the issue that really myself and Stacy and others, we go outside the community quite a bit, and we are promoting the airport and the community, waving the flag, to bring air service and or our property development to the airports. One of the challenges is that Will Rogers World Airport is not, the name is not well known outside of Oklahoma City because it doesn't identify where it's at. So that was some of the conversation, and so really that was one of the points of adding Oklahoma City or OKC into the name. Certainly there was support for retaining Will Rogers and history and of Will Rogers and the community and his link to aviation. And then the third part that came out was world to international. And there was support for changing that or moving from world to international. Some of that, I think, is also important for us on the timing. We are in the middle of developing a customs facility at the airport, which will allow us to then bring international service to Oklahoma City. So I think that kind of, the timing for that also was of importance. So a positioning statement, just identifying really what we think the airport and the community offers, and that is a welcoming travelers, vibrant culture, offering easy in and out travel experiences. So those are some of our touch points. Certainly wanted to retain the connection to their history and aviation. This is a photo that I'm sure many of you have seen before. It's Will Rogers and Wiley Post, the aircraft. It was actually Will Rogers aircraft. And so that was the connection that we saw that we'd like to fold into the logo. And if you go to the next slide. Also then that is incorporated into the logo and the K as part of OKC. And also you'll see as in some of the subsequent slides also incorporating the state bird, the scissortail. And so those are some of the elements that were brought into the logo. So that's the logo. OKC is, as you know, really is an international brand. Obviously, a lot of that's to do with our Oklahoma City Thunder, but people know OKC wherever you travel. And so this is our recommendation to, was approved by the Airport Trust and now is in front of you, is to OKC Will Rogers International Airport. Coming with that is the brand, and some of that is the colors and the palette that we propose to use for various signage and logo applications. You can keep going. Some other ideas that we have and Dominique has proposed to us to use as we implement this. And some more signage. Signage is important, of course, at the airport, so we use that a lot. And ultimately for advertisements, for air service and other opportunities. And I think that's the last slide. We will be, upon approval, going through an implementation process. Of course, this will take some time. The logo is in lots of different locations, all over the place at the airport, but we will begin an effort here. We've developed a video that we can make available to the media that kind of explains the process and how we've want to transition to this new logo and brand. And it will ultimately include some billboards and over time, a lot of our branded things like our shuttles, we'll begin that process to transition them to this new name and this new logo. So that's my update. Happy to take any questions from anybody.
I don't really have a question, but as I was hearing the presentation, when I think of international, that's not something I just say, I'm traveling internationally. I travel the world. And so for us to remove world, to me, that takes away the nostalgia of Oklahoma City, because I say from OKC to the world. But that is what it is. But I think for us to look forward is great, but to keep the nostalgia, I believe would have been necessary, because that continues to create the uniqueness of what Oklahoma City, in my opinion, is. But otherwise, I like the colors, I like the other pieces of what this is, and I'm hoping that as as we use this new branding, that we also look at how we incorporate international branding in the airport, if this is something that we're planning on doing. The diversity of branding in this airport, if this is something that we continue to say we want to note as a landing point and or a way to go see the world, as we would like to do for a lot of us. So that's just my personal opinion. Again, not really of a horrible critique of it, but I hate for that world piece to go away from where we are as far as being able to say it. And I agree, when you're in Oklahoma City, you know Will Rogers World Airport. So to now change it to international is interesting in itself.
I think that was a very interesting comment by Councilwoman Nice there. I love the OKC branding on the front of it. I think that's fantastic. I wish it was going to remain World Airport, just because it's different, right? So you look at it differently, going, wow, it's different. And I'm glad we're keeping the Will Rogers piece in it for sure. And I appreciate all the work you do, Director Mulder and your staff, and you know I love our airport. If you don't like our airport, go fly to a different airport, in and out, and then fly back to our airport, and you'll love our airport. I just wish we were keeping it Will Rogers, Oklahoma City, Will Rogers World Airport. But thank you for all your work.
See? And as he was talking, it made me think of, even in the O, having the globe in the O, that shows how much of the world we would like to see. Something to think about.
Director Mulder, thank you again for the presentation and for the opportunity. Really, since my time on council, you know, I've had the opportunity to be here at such an interesting time. It wasn't long after I started, and the mayor so kindly appointed me to the airport trust, that I had the opportunity to see the opening of the new terminal expansion. And that step forward for our airport was extremely significant. Significant for our travelers going out of Oklahoma City, significant for travelers coming into Oklahoma City, and I think that this is kind of the next step in that process. And I know that there's a lot of love for the world on the council, but I will take a little bit of a different stance with the international. I'm very excited to see that. I do think it puts our airport in a class that is different than it has been in the past. You know, with the development of international flights and the monies that we have put into that, and to really have the opportunity to draw attention to that in a way that the aerospace industry understands. You know, when we're advertising this airport, it is to airlines and to not just to consumers, and to encourage them to come and bring more nonstop flights and bring international flights and bring all of those different amenities so that our consumers have more options. And so I hope that this accomplishes that in the way that, you know, we've kind of talked about in the past, so that we can expand those offerings, and that, you know, to that international point, not only going out of our airport, but also coming in. You know, I know that there are discussions going on with Visit OKC, and bringing some visuals of our districts out to the airport, so that as our travelers are coming in, that they're seeing the different international qualities of our city. And so I'm very excited about that as well. So thank you again for a great presentation and considerable effort, and responding to citizens' requests to, you know, retain the Will Rogers. It is very important to us and to our history. So thank you.
You know, at first when I heard about this, I was really fearful that Will Rogers' name would be lost from part of our airport. And so I started doing some research, and next year, Will Rogers will be gone 90 years. And, you know, he's originally from Claremore, and a lot of people today don't associate Will Rogers with Oklahoma City. But the point is, what people do associate Will Rogers with is aviation in its infancy. and how important he was, the role he played in moving aviation forward. And one of my favorite sayings by Will Rogers is, your train may be on the right track, but if you're not moving forward, you're going to get run over. And I think if Will Rogers was here today, if he were here today, he'd be proud of this and he'd like it. But I think the most important thing it does in my mind is it emphasizes Oklahoma City, which now people know about it all over the world, not just because of the basketball, but because we're the 20th largest city, we're the 6th fastest growing, and we're getting ready to have some Olympic events. So I'm going to support this. I think you did a great job with it, and I'm glad you kept the name Will Rogers.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yep. All right.
I'd like to move for approval.
Okay. Does that come up? Because it hasn't come up for me. All right, we have a motion and a second. Cast your votes, and I wish to vote aye. Passes unanimously. Thanks for all the work that I know went into that. Okay, item L is a resolution amending the current budgeting and financial planning policies, the last adopted in 2022. We have a presentation.
Yes, Chris York, our budget director, will give a presentation on the proposed update on the financial budgeting and financial planning policies.
Good morning. So the item today just has a few minor updates that I will walk you through. They're really targeted at a couple of different things. One is we're looking to improve our processing times for financial transactions. We're also looking to update an area that was caused by migration to our new financial system, Oracle. And we're adding some clarifying language that better describes our existing process. So referencing page 4 of the policy, you'll note that we're updating the workflow and signature authority of our budget transfers. The idea there, if I could give you an example, is a department might have budgeted $100 for paper, which is a supply, and then determine that they actually want to use a printing service. So that would require a budget transfer. The current process is they have to get that approved through their department, then send it to the budget office. A budget analyst reviews it, signs it, sends it to my desk, I review it, sign it, and then it goes to the CFO who reviews it and signs it. It's a bit overkill for that basic and routine of a transaction. And meanwhile, the department, by the way, is waiting for us to complete all that before they're able to open a PO and move forward. This update would push that signature authority down to the budget analyst, and we expect it to improve our turnaround times significantly. You can imagine at those levels, it could take anywhere from a couple hours to a couple of days to get those processed. We're also cleaning up some language that clarifies the non-departmental department, which contains our general fund contingency, and that transfers involving general fund contingency require the highest level of signature from the city manager. But there are also routine transactions in non-departmental, like for example, our natural gas budget is there. Those shouldn't require the same level of authority, and so we were making that distinction between the two, but still maintaining that high level for contingency-specific transactions. Moving on to page 5, we have an update regarding the purchase order rollover process. You'll might be familiar with that. We bring you a budget amendment every year that facilitates that process, and the reason we do that, it's actually a bit of a workaround. The prior financial system did not allow us to systematically roll forward POs from the prior year into the current year, and so we work around that by bringing you a budget amendment, which you adopt every year. The constraint to that is that the department is now waiting on that budget to be restored for however long it takes us to put together a budget amendment, then the public hearings and so forth. The new system does allow us to do it systematically, and that is also allowed by the Municipal Budget Act, so we're recommending that we move in that direction. Council will still have oversight of the process because as you do receive budget amendments throughout the year, you will note there will be a column there. It just won't be isolated to its own individual budget amendment. It'll happen in the system automatically. And then finally, we're adding some language there that better defines the idea of transfer tos, transfers from. And the reason this is a little bit of financial housekeeping, but the reason for that is that we have a number of documents that we have to comply with, from the Municipal Budget Act to GASB recommendations to GAP and so on. And as we're referencing these financial transactions in each one of these governing bodies, they might be called something different. I might consider it a budget transfer. They may consider it a payment to from. Some folks just say that they're moving funds around. And even internally, we call it something different. So what this language does for us is it defines those types of transactions and makes it very clear that we are playing by the rules for each of these governing bodies per the type of transaction. And with that, those are all the changes, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, so we could take up the resolution if that's the will of the council. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Item M is a resolution authorizing legal counsel to participate in Federal Energy Regulatory Commission proceedings and to initiate litigation to enforce the settlement agreement and protect the rights and interests of our city related to the Settlement Act, Settlement Agreement, Stardust Lake storage rights, Kaimuchi River stream water rights, and other related rights and interests, etc. This was previously briefed, so there's no presentation today. We could take up the resolution. If there's any like super superficial questions, we could handle those, but otherwise we'd probably have to defer it because there's no executive session on the agenda. We've got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. All right, item N1 is a resolution authorizing the municipal council to confess judgment without admitting liability in the case of Mays Gauntz v. City of OKC. Executive session is not requested. Got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Item 1101 is a joint resolution with the City of Oklahoma City. Shouldn't that say a joint resolution with the, hey, Laura? With the Municipal Facilities Authority
Yeah, since it was already on the agenda earlier, I think properly listed, I think this is sufficient.
Okay.
I don't think it's an Open Meetings Act violation.
a Scrivener's error.
Right, it is a
All right.
Scrivener's error.
All right, 01 is a joint resolution with, technically, the Oklahoma City Municipal Facilities Authority authorizing the firm Collins, Zorn, and Wagner to represent Kimberly Vance and Mark Fields in the case of McCaufman v. Vance. Executive session is not requested.
I would like to request the executive session for 01.
All right, we have a request to go into executive session and approve item 1102. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Fails 2 to 6. We're back on the item 1101, the joint resolution. Could take a motion. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes 6 to 2. Now we're on item P. This is an executive session on advice of the municipal councilor to receive confidential communications regarding the case of Mitchell v. Klicka Landers et al. We can handle this at the end of our other business, but we can do the vote right now to approve an executive session. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. We, as I stated, will handle the executive session itself at the end of our other business. Item Q1 are claims recommended for denial, and staff would like to strike item Q1C. That is their request today. So we could take a motion on that perhaps first. motion to strike item Q1C and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Executive session is not requested on this, so we could take up the recommended denials still found at Q1A and B with one motion. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Item R, our claims recommended for approval. Executive session is not requested. We could take them with one motion. Got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. All right, item 12 are comments from council. Ward 1.
Not today, sir. Thank you.
Ward 2.
Yes. So OCU had its matriculation event a couple weeks ago, and it's really nice seeing those freshmen run across campus in preparation of graduation 4 years from now. So yesterday at 4 o'clock would have been my world literature class. I'm a bit with Councilwoman Nice and Stone on this. We don't call it international literature class, we call it world literature class. Thank you for smiling at that, Mayor. Moments before that class began, my English composition class had ended. And in that brief span of time, I had received a text message from Councilwoman Nice letting me know that Pastor Reed from Fairview had passed away. And it's always a difficult moment as an adult in a position of authority when you receive upsetting news in front of young people, right? It's like, yes, it's like, how do I react to this news, right? And so what I ended up doing as we went into that 4 o'clock hour is I told the students at the start of class that I was going to say something a bit heavy to them. They had just watched, I know it's a world literature class, but to prepare students who are mostly used to screens, TV shows, TikTok, film, they're more used to that than they are literature. I always start the class with a film, and so they had watched 1960s Psycho, considered a masterpiece, Hitchcock. It's a way to get them thinking about narrative structure and perspective. It just so happened that as I pulled up an article from the Oklahoman on Pastor Reed, his story really takes off in 1963. And it allowed me as the professor in this moment to honor him and to talk about what it was like for him. I just read from the article what it was like for him to have met the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Just a few months before the bombing there in Birmingham of that church. He had been there, and he just a few months later would learn about the bombing of that church and the loss of those 4 girls. And he was there for the sanitation strike here. This is a man who has had a half century worth of just dedication to the people of OKC, to the cause of nonviolence, right? To the cause of justice and equality. And I got to hear him speak for the first time, really the first time, when we were talking about where the county jail should go. And he was 85 when he was at the end of that town hall, when he got up and spoke. And I remember turning to Representative Jason Lowe, who was on the panel with me, and I was like, it's like looking into the future, isn't it? Like, he has paved the way for us. But on a much more personal note, I had the honor of going to his church, you might recall earlier this year in February, Black History Month, when I was one of the recipients of an award in his name. And anyone who knows me knows that I am almost always late. And I got there right on time that day. And I made a deal with myself this summer that I would send him a thank you card. And I kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And then finally, a few weeks ago, I sent him that thank you card. And that was the first thought I had yesterday was, what if I had not sent that thank you card to let him know how much it meant to me and my family to receive that award? I just say this to you all to say, if there's someone in your life that means a lot to you, a close friend, a neighbor, a family member, and you have not told them lately that they mean a lot to you, if you've kind of let it slip slide into the familiar, now's the time. Now is the time to do that. A simple note of gratitude for their existence will go a really long way. I would have been devastated had I not sent that note. So I'm really glad that somehow I was able to. And that was the message I shared with my students yesterday. I told them, look to your left, look to your right, and if that person means a lot to you, send them a note, or if they're not here, send a note. So that's just something I wanted to share today. That was something that my world literature students that now has taken on a much deeper meaning. So to the family at Fairview, much love from my family and from Ward 2.
Thank you, Ward 3. Ward 4. Ward 5.
Interesting facts and figures from me today. In July of 2023, Early Wine YMCA had 28,200 check-ins. In July of 24, they had 28,100 check-ins. And why is that relevant? Well, between then and now, we opened up a senior center just 3 or 4 blocks away, in reality. Well, I'm happy to report that in July of this year, the senior center had 16,500 check-ins, so it didn't affect the Y at all. And they're getting about somewhere between 530 people and 800 people a day utilizing that center, which just makes me really happy. That's a great add to South Oklahoma City. And on a sad note, it's been 3 years since we lost Mark Ruffin, and he's always in my thoughts. So that's it.
Thank you. Ward 7.
So are you in that number?
I am.
All right, excellent.
I don't want to play pickleball.
Fine. We still haven't had our pickleball day thing, so very grateful that we're all getting to revel in the joy of our seniors having some recreation. And I'm sure, like that one, our seniors call ours the senior playground. So they like to have fun, that's for sure. I just had a couple things. First, I wanted to thank the community as well as our Parks Department for the Menace Lakeview grand reopening that they had this past Saturday. If you hadn't come out Saturday to enjoy, I would encourage those who have not yet seen some of the improvements to please go by there. And the ways that we support the center is to sign up for programming. So there is programming for our seniors, there's programming for our kids, before and after school programming. And to our residents, they have organized, they have a committee that helps to support it, and I know that they will continue to support this particular center. And I also want to lift up Naisha Morris, because she has worked extremely hard in our Parks Department with our seniors to make sure that they had all of the programming that they needed in order for this effort to take place. So again, wanted to say to Naisha, job well done, and continue to do the great work for our communities within the Parks Department. I'm not sure, still waiting to understand whose responsibility as far as our facilities, library facilities are concerned. Someone reached out to me, actually a couple people reached out to me about Ralph Ellison Library with there being a leak on the top of the building, and now there's a tarp over the building and some mold. So I'm hoping that with those concerns, we can get our residents and those who patron the library taken care of to make sure that further action doesn't have to be remediated for this particular center. I wanted to also congratulate the Ambassador Concert Choir. They officially on Saturday kicked off their celebration of 45 years. As far as their season, their new season will begin, and they're asking for everyone to continue to support. So for a choir like that to be around for 45 years is definitely a blessing, especially when the visionaries, one of the main visionaries of the efforts is no longer with the organization and no longer with us, but being able to carry that torch of life, of what that vision was, is always an accomplishment, and it seems as if it's continued to stay steady as far as the membership is concerned. And Northeast Street enhancements, just to let folks know, there are some ways for you to get involved. vision.okc.gov/Northeast 23rd Street enhancement. So if you have an opportunity to do that, we're excited about what this will bring to our community. But we need people's voices at the table. So there will be a couple meetings, one the 5th, one the 6th, and I believe one on the 12th of September. So please make plans to attend or find out more information for yourself so you can at least be a participant. This Saturday, there will be a peace walk that's going to begin at 1 p.m. from the Ralph Ellison Library. So looking forward to being a part of that, especially with some of the things that have happened within the community over the past couple of weeks, and extending our peace to the community within it. And I wanted to also extend my condolences to the family of Pastor Reed. And one of the things that I would personally say about Pastor Reed is, and I said in my Facebook post yesterday, that he was definitely a giant in our community. And for one person to pastor one church for over at least 62 years, that says something. That says something to his leadership, that says something to his voice, that says something to the trust in the church family to have him as their leader. And since Thursday, it's been pretty heavy within the Fairview family because everyone was worried. We're all, because it just happened suddenly as far as his health concerns, for us to wonder what's going to happen. Can he make it? We need him to make it. And ultimately, he talked about running the race and finishing the race, but he finally finished the race and has received that crown. But I would say this, one of the things that I was able to experience was probably one of his last sermons, and that was with our Freedom Fiesta that occurred 2 Sundays ago, the Sunday before last. And the title of his sermon was Be a Dreamer. And one of the things that I wrote down, because he mentioned it again after he preached that evening, was be a dreamer. And I said, Reverend Reed, you better tell somebody to dream. And he said, that's right, baby. If your mind can conceive it and your mind can believe it, you can achieve it. Those are his last words to me. And I pray for his family. I pray for the church family. And this is a devastating loss for our community, as well as it was very inspirational to see the mayor of Stillwater acknowledge him, because he broke barriers at Stillwater High School before going to Langston University to be an advocate for our HBCUs. And I think it's very important for us to know, if we do not already, just as Councilperson Cooper mentioned, when he was a part of the strike, sanitation worker strike, he was a young pastor. And he mentioned that actually at that service, he gave his account of being a participant in the sanitation worker strike. And I'm very grateful, even when I called him, he came and talked the day we talked about the city jail, the possibility of tearing that building down. I called him the night before. I said, Reverend Reed, I need you. And he said, okay, baby, I'll be there. And that next morning, he was in front of us speaking to him being jailed from the sanitation worker strike and his experiences of being a part of the civil rights movement. So no one can take away that part of what Reverend Reed has brought to our city, our state, as well as our nation. And for those who may not know, I'm sorry that this is boring you, but for those who may not know, that he also, for our National Baptist Convention, it's a national convention for our Baptist churches, he was still an office holder. So they'll be having their convention next week, and I can tell you that it's definitely going to be on everybody's minds with him not being there next week. So please, again, continue to keep that Reed, his daughters and their families in your prayers, as well as the Fairview Missionary Baptist Church, because there's definitely going to be a need to be some prayers and healing for the loss that has happened within this part of our community. And also, just a couple weeks ago, he received the Lynn Institute Lifetime Legacy Award. And he was surprised because he didn't even know he was getting it. And they called him to the stage to receive that. So congratulations to our other holders of that. And I was also fortunate enough to receive that Spirit of the Community Award by him, and to know that he sees us as he was seeing us in our work. That meant something. So again, his legacy will never be forgotten.
Thank you, Ward 8.
You know, on Sunday afternoons, I like to, and I've mentioned this before, read articles about other cities, the issues they're facing, and read articles about Oklahoma City. And I came upon this one that says, Oklahoma lands 2 spots on the national list of most scenic locations. It was a survey polling 3,000 Americans to rank the nation's most scenic locations, and our very own Myriad Botanical Gardens is on that list. I'd like to read what it says. The Myriad Botanical Gardens in downtown Oklahoma City is a photographer's paradise, offering breathtaking seasonal displays of plants and flowers that transform the outdoor gardens into a vibrant, colorful canvas. So to the staff on the foundation and to the board of directors of the foundation, congratulations on this award. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes comments from council. Now we're on citizens to be heard. Debbie Eddy.
Thank you, Mayor and council people, for hearing me and giving me this time. I'm Debbie Eddy. I'm from the May Penn area. My little neighborhood is very small, surrounded by May Avenue, Penn Avenue, and Northwest 39th Expressway Service Road to I-44, and also Northwest 36th Street. In 1966, there was a declaration signed that the right-of-way, of which I am a homeowner, a portion of it, was to be no vehicular traffic, but open to pedestrian traffic only. Of course, utilities, emergency vehicles, police, those would be the exceptions. That was signed, and it is on the books. Everything moved along in that direction until 2017, when one of the row owners came before this council requesting to fence in a portion of the property south of the little footbridge that is south of me over the Deep Fork Creek. He was granted that privilege, but the understanding was each homeowner, if they wanted to fence in their property, it would be up to them individually to pay for it. To my knowledge at that time, his was the only one that was not fenced in. Within a time period of about a year, that person fenced in south of the bridge, fenced in the bridge, fenced in south of me on 37th Street, and 37th Place joins 37th Street. It's cul-de-sac. Fenced that in with the stockade fencing. Then, after that, he fenced in with temporary construction fencing, Northwest 38th Street, east-west. All these are east-west fencings. That has been replaced in the last couple of months with another stockade fence.
30
Last
seconds
year,
remaining.
my neighbor to the east of me put in an illegal fence, taking a portion of my property away. I took her to court, and I prevailed and was able to get that stockade fencing taken down, and it cost me a great deal of money. When that fencing came down at the same time, I put up a boundary line fencing that strictly adheres to the private survey that I had done on my property. It is both a north-south and an east-west, two sections of what would have been a rectangle, but I did not finish filling it in because I have all of the utilities on my property, and it must be available to utilities. And they have come up over the last 50 years on my property to work on those utilities. Since all of these east-west fences have been put in, it has put a stop, it has curtailed quite a bit of the people that don't live there but walk across there, leave trash, they set up tenting, all illegal. So for that has been a positive, but it is causing extreme problems for anybody who wants to move or walk between Northwest 38th and Chicago and south of the Little Bridge to go to Variety Care, which is now at Sequoia Elementary.
So, Ms. Eddie, we are pretty over at this point. I'm sure staff would be happy to meet with you and take all the time you need to describe the situation. We have a 3-minute limit here, so it's kind of not the best atmosphere for that explanation. But
Debbie Miller, our Public Works Director, is here.
Our Public Works Director is right there in the first row and would love to step outside and hear it all.
Thank you very much.
Can I
thank you.
As you, excuse me, as you're talking with Director Miller, can I just hear just real quick, like, as you're heading into that, like, what is it you're asking from the council? Just real, like, just super quick.
3 questions. Why is the city not enforcing that 66 decree? The city.
Okay, that's one question. They're gonna get mad at me. What are the other 2 questions, please? Okay.
And the third question was, while those 2 land surveys were going on, there was a door-to-door survey going on that if the city opened the bridge back up, would anybody use it? What are the results from that?
Okay, and we'll get those to council, those answers. Thank you for that. Appreciate you.
Okay, next up is Ronnie Kirk. Don't see Ronnie here. Michael Washington. Don't see Michael Washington here. Steve Hunt.
Hello, my name is Steve Hunt. As I was getting ready today, I thought about a quote from Gabor Mate, "The brain fragments itself to fragment the pain." There's a lot that concerns me about everything here, so I grabbed this notebook to take some notes, and amazingly out fell this letter from Tim Carney from 2009, K Street editor, Washington Examiner. Thanks for reading. I'm always interested in spreading the word, and I am aware of Oklahoma City's Chamber of Commerce, one of the worst as far as regulatory robbery and subsidy sucking. That was totally random. So I'm here to talk about the hotel motel tax that's today, also Airbnb tax that's not mentioned on the flyers, but what is mentioned is that police and fire will benefit. I got a message just a minute ago from a former OKCPD person, not my Supreme Court lawyer who represented me against your egregious, illegal proclamation you made to keep me off the council. He says the hotel motel tax is just another shady money grab. While the problems we have go unresolved, I wonder who has already scooped up all the land to sell back at huge prices. As I mentioned, It's hard to address everything that I need to. Yesterday, I was on 96.9 FM for 30 minutes with a former FDIC lawyer during the Penn Square Bank days, and also Aiden from Oklahomans Against Occupation. If the fine folks out in Channel 20 land and watching on YouTube would like to go to my Facebook page, Steve Hunt, to learn more about this grotesque vote that is going on today, that is really nothing more than another money grab by the big money private equity Chamber of Commerce folks. They can go to Steve Hunt on Facebook and watch that 30-minute interview yesterday. Another thing I want to talk about is June 20th. Dave, could you look at me, please? Dave, get off your Snapchat and would you look at me? Okay, so on June 20th, Mayor Holt appeared at the sacred grounds of the Murrah Building Memorial to speak about the importance of engaging with others. Some of you all know that I worked downtown during the bombing, and that changed me as a person. And I tell you what, for Dave to sit on a panel in that space and talk about the importance of engaging with others and be completely unwilling to even look at me right now.
30 seconds remaining.
Dave. All right. So, the hotel motel tax, I had like all this stuff to talk about. Obviously, you know, it's 3 minutes is not enough. So if people would take a look at that. Also, I'd like to announce on the last Thursday of September,
Thank you.
we're going to have a
Overtime.
forum.
Joy Reardon,
We're going to
is
have
that
a
next?
forum at the Belle Isle Library entitled "We Need to Talk About
Joy, you
David
come
Holt
forward, you're up.
and the Chamber." And
Joy, come on.
get ready, Dave.
Joy Reardon.
Joy Reardon, 125 Northwest 9th. That's a really hard act to go after, but thank y'all for hearing me. A lot of what I've said about ADA and stuff, I know that we can do better. Do you know how long it's been since they signed the law for ADA? Can anybody answer that? No one? 34 years, I think. Do you know who enacted it in law? George Bush Sr. enacted it into law. Y'all have got to do something about a couple issues that I've got. Miss Nice, you know where I'm going with this, right? Your favorite people over on 4th Street. We literally have mold in our building, black mold. We've had they keep key to home is one of the worst things that could ever come out. 65% of the people that they put in key to home, the ROI and the P&L for housing is ridiculous. It's a revolving door that we keep getting more and more mentally unstable people in our buildings. Our buildings, the 22 sites that supposedly senior housing. But we keep getting people that are not seniors. We keep getting people that keeps getting evicted out of the buildings. It's a major problem. We've had major fires over our building alone on 9th Street. We've got problems with transients that keeps hanging around our buildings. That the police department keeps taking them away from our building and everything else, but they keep showing back up. When is this going to change? It's a scary situation. We got females that almost refuse to go to take their trash out to the back of the building because we got people trying to accost them. Right now, I've got a VPO, and I was assaulted inside my building by a transient that's violated the VPO 37 times.
Joy, we're at time. Thank you. Carl Williams.
Scared to come up here. My name is Carl Williams. I'm nervous too. I live off of 27th and Martin Luther King, where they supposed to knock down the housing authorities duplexes in 2019, like the pandemic hit. But the other day on 28th Street, I can give y'all these pictures. They 28th Street, they did put concrete on the whole street, but on my street, 27th, that's where the school bus, that's where all the traffic is. And we got potholes and everything where they can pass the streets. And then one of the duplexes caught on fire July the 18th, and all they did was board it up, so it's an eyesore. And then it's graffiti on the building, because you know these are all vacant now. They put the people out because they was gonna knock them down in 2019. And let's see what else. I'm nervous. When I walked there yesterday, one of the manholes, the cover them fell down off in there, so all we need is kids to fall down off in there. Let me see, is that all? I think that's about it. But Nikki's got the pictures to show y'all what it looked like over there.
Okay, just for clarification, Mr. Williams, the resurfacing was done on which street?
Northeast 28th.
28th? And the pictures that you had show patched up are on what street?
27th, my street.
Okay. All right. In what street did the fire?
It's on 27th Street. 2042 is the address.
2042? Okay. All right.
And the manhole is on 27th too, at the bottom of the housing.
Manhole is on 27th as well?
Yes.
Okay. All right. We'll work on this, and I will get back to you. We'll get back to you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
All right, that concludes citizens to be heard. We do have an executive session we previously approved. We'll go into that now, and Vice Mayor Peck will be presiding when we come back for adjournment.
We have returned from executive session, and now we are adjourned. Thank you.